My wife demanded I sell my late mother's house to fund her startup. I refused. She forged my signature and sold it anyway. What she didn't know is my mother put the house in an irrevocable trust. The buyer was my lawyer, and she had just committed felony fraud. And then, I'm sitting here still trying to understand how the woman I spent nearly a decade with managed to blow up our entire life in less than 3 months. If you had told me a year ago that my wife would end up arrested in a title office lobby, screaming about a fake pregnancy, while 2 detectives calmly put her in handcuffs, I would have laughed. Not because it's funny, but because it would have sounded too ridiculous to be real. And yet here I am, typing this from a place where the shock has settled into this weird mix of grief, relief, and something that feels a little like justice. My wife, well, technically my ex-wife now, was named Melissa, 32, social media obsessed, deeply invested in the idea of being some kind of entrepreneurial girl boss despite never actually finishing a business plan in her life. I'm Adam, 35, quiet guy, software engineer, lived a pretty simple life. A year before everything exploded, my mom passed away from complications after a long battle with lupus. She was my best friend. Losing her crushed me. But before she died, she arranged her affairs with a level of foresight I didn't fully appreciate at the time. She left her house, my childhood home, to a trust with her old attorney, David Lang, as trustee. I was a beneficiary, but I couldn't sell or transfer anything without going through him. She told me it was to protect what mattered, but I never thought I'd need protecting from my own wife. Melissa was supportive at first, or at least she acted like she was. But a few months after the funeral, she started getting sucked into these online entrepreneurship rabbit holes. You know the type. Pastel Instagram grids, women who claim they make $200,000 a month from spiritual wellness coaching, paid mastermind groups, detox teas that somehow cost as much as rent. Melissa got hooked. She spent $2,000 on a feminine abundance business accelerator course without telling me, then another $1,200 on branding consultations. Then she quit her job in social media management because she said working for someone else was poisoning her creativity. I told her to slow down, start smaller, test things before throwing our savings around like confetti. She told me I was limiting her divine potential. That was the beginning of the end. The real disaster hit 6 months ago when she sat me down with a giant PowerPoint presentation she'd made. I'm talking full-on pitch deck, color scheme, fake revenue projections, inspirational quotes from women who call themselves holistic millionaires. She needed $180,000 to launch properly, and her grand solution was that I sell my mom's house, since it was just sitting there collecting dust. I told her flat out no. I told her I'd rather burn the place down than sell it for a business that didn't exist outside Canvas slides. We had savings she could use to start with, maybe $20,000. She said that amount was insultingly small-minded. We fought hard. She left to stay with her friend Erica for a few days. When she came back, she apologized, cried, promised she understood, said she'd find another way. I believed her. I swear to God I wish I hadn't. One Tuesday afternoon, my old neighbor called me. She said there was a sold sign in front of my mom's house and people measuring the driveway. My entire body went cold. I called the realtor. They told me the property had been sold to a cash buyer for $395,000. They read the seller's name. Mine. My signature was on the paperwork. I drove straight to the house. There was lockbox on the door, sold sign drilled into the grass my mom used to water every Sunday morning. I don't remember much of the drive home, except my heart pounding so fast I thought might actually stop. I didn't confront Melissa. I called David Lang, the trustee. The silence on the phone when he realized what I was saying told me everything. Then he asked me something that made my stomach twist. Adam, did your wife recently give you papers to sign? Maybe under the pretense of something else. My heart fell into my shoes. 3 weeks earlier, Melissa had handed me a stack of forms, said they were for registering her LLC. I signed them without reading. I know, stupid, but you don't expect the person you share a bed with to commit actual felony forgery. David told me to stay calm. act normal, and come to his office first thing in the morning. The next few days were hell. Melissa was bouncing around like a kid high on sugar. She kept talking about vendor meetings and brand vision and her founder energy. She bought thousands of dollars worth of clothing and furniture for the business. She hired a branding consultant named Sebastian, who charged $600 an hour to tell her which shades of beige conveyed luxury. The man wore a scarf indoors and called everything intentional. The worst part? Melissa called a family meeting on Zoom and told both our families that we were liquidating certain assets for her business investment. My sister, Abby, stared at me through the screen like she knew something was wrong. My dad looked like he might pass out. I stayed quiet because David told me to. Every night, I felt like I was going to explode. David and another attorney from his office, Mark, dug into the documents. Melissa forged my signature. She paid a notary named Kendra $700 under the table to stamp things she never witnessed. There was a whole digital trail on Melissa's laptop, edited PDFs, Google searches like how to mimic someone's signature, even a screenshot of a YouTube tutorial titled Foolproof Signature Duplication. Honestly, the incompetence was almost impressive. But David said they needed her to complete the closing for everything to stick. Clean arrest, clean charges. So I waited. I watched her burn money like it was Monopoly cash. She put a deposit on a $95,000 Lexus for networking. She put down $4,000 on a co-working space membership. She told Sebastian she'd bring him on full-time as creative director at $140,000 a year. Sebastian kissed her on the cheek when he left that day. I noticed. I didn't say a thing. 2 days before closing, Melissa told me she was pregnant. Dropped it casually over breakfast. Oh, by the way, babe, I took a test. We're starting a family. Isn't it perfect timing? Here's what she didn't know. I saw her buy tampons 4 days earlier. Saw the box in the bathroom trash. Saw the receipt. She wasn't pregnant. She was panicking. She thought it would protect her or guilt me into silence. I texted David. He told me to document it. The day of the sting, Melissa booked herself a full spa day. Facial, massage, manicure. She left the apartment glowing, wearing white like she was a Virgin Mary. When I got to the title office with David, Mark, and the detectives, my hands were shaking so hard I could barely sign my own name on the visitor log. Melissa arrived 20 minutes late, iced coffee in hand, red nails, humming like she was floating through life. She sat down, smiled sweetly at the title agent, crossed her legs, and waited for her payday. Then the agent looked confused. This property appears to be owned by an irrevocable trust. Melissa laughed like he'd told a joke. Oh, that's outdated. The trust dissolved when his mom passed, she said, waving a perfectly manicured hand. David stood. Actually, I'm the trustee, and I most certainly did not approve this sale. Melissa's face crumpled like paper. Who are you? She whispered. Adam's mother's attorney. David said, and the trustee of the property you attempted to transfer fraudulently. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photo of her practice signatures. She looked like she might faint. Then she tried running. Actually running. In heels. Right into a detective's chest. They arrested her. She screamed, cried, begged, lied. I'm pregnant. You can't arrest me, she shrieked. I told the detective to check the CVS on Oak Street for the tampon she bought. Melissa's face when he wrote it down. I'll see that look in my sleep forever. That was 6 weeks ago. Melissa took a plea deal. 3 years probation. 6 months house arrest, restitution. Felony on her record forever. Kendra, the notary, flipped immediately, got probation, lost her license. And Sebastian, the scarf-wearing branding consultant, turns out he and Melissa were sleeping together. He planned to help her manage the money once the sale went through. Her brother found their messages when cleaning out her stuff. They had plans to move to Portugal. They laughed about how pathetic I was. Something inside me broke reading those messages, but something else healed at the same time. The divorce finalized fast. Judge gave her nothing. Not alimony. Not a cent of marital assets. Her parents, who nearly lost their house bailing her out, haven't spoken to her since. She's living in a tiny apartment now, working at a gym front desk. No more wellness empire. No more designer shopping sprees. No more Sebastian, who blocked her the second she was arrested. As for me, I visited my mom's house last week. The roses she planted are blooming. I sat on the porch steps, the same ones where she used to bring me hot cocoa when I was a kid. My dad came by. Abby came too. We drank coffee in the kitchen and told stories about Mom. Dad cried quietly. I did too. He told me Mom always worried Melissa wasn't right for me. Mothers know, he said. And he's right. I'm in therapy now. Healing. Learning to trust myself again. Learning what real love actually looks like. And in a strange way, I think Mom protected me even after she was gone. Not just with the trust, but by giving me a place that no one can steal, a place that holds love instead of lies. Oh, and Lucia, our old cleaning lady who Melissa fired because successful people have assistants, not maids. I helped her start her own small cleaning business. She texts me photos of her kids in their new school clothes. Says she prays for me every Sunday. Funny how the people who have the least often give the most. If you take anything from this mess, let it be this. Trust your gut. Protect your peace. And for the love of everything holy, never sign anything without reading it, even if it comes from someone who claims to love you. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones holding the sharpest knife. I'm moving forward now. Slowly, but finally in the right direction. Mom would have liked that.